There are certain places that feel different after dark. Not dangerous exactly, not in an obvious way, but quiet in a way that feels eerie. Like the world has stepped back just a little, and whatever's left behind isn't meant for you. Rendlesham Forest is one of those places. It sits in the English countryside, a stretch of pine trees and narrow paths between two former U.S. Air Force bases, RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. During the day, it looks harmless. Just rows of trees, soft ground, and the smell of damp, comforting earth. But at night, the forest changes. The branches block out the sky, the paths disappear into shadow, and every sound, every snap of a twig, every shift of the wind, feels closer than it should. In December of 1980, that forest became the center of one of the strangest military encounters ever reported. Make sure that seatbelt is fastened tightly, passenger. You and I are going to England. It started in the early hours after Christmas, just past midnight. 2 U.S. Air Force security patrolmen were making the rounds near the edge of RAF Woodbridge. The base was quiet. Most people were asleep. The cold air hung still over the runways. Then they saw the lights. At first, it looked like an aircraft descending through the trees, a bright glow moving between the branches of the forest, just beyond the perimeter. The kind of thing that immediately gets your attention when you are guarding a military installation in the middle of the night. The man assumed it was a plane in trouble, maybe an emergency landing, maybe a crash. They reported it and were given permission to investigate. Flashlights in hand, they stepped off the base and into the deep, dark forest. The deeper they walked, the quieter it all became. Their boots crunched over frozen ground, their breath hung in the air, and ahead of them, through the trees, they could still see the glow. But it didn't look like a crash. There was no smoke, no fire, no scattered debris, no one calling for help. Instead, they came to a small clearing, and in the center of it was something sitting on the ground. One of the men later described it as a triangular object, maybe 8 or 9 feet across, metallic, smooth, resting on 3 short legs. It wasn't wrecked, it wasn't broken. It looked pretty much intact, as if it had landed there deliberately. The surface of the object seemed to glow faintly. Colored lights pulsed across it, blue, red, and white, like something alive just beneath the metal skin. The air around it felt strange, charged, almost electric. One of the airmen stepped closer, close enough to reach it. He later said he could see strange symbols etched into the surface. Not letters and not numbers, just shapes, like some kind of writing he could not recognize. And then the object reacted to him. The lights intensified, the air around it seemed to shimmer, and without any sound, the craft began to rise. Slowly at first, just a few feet off the ground, then higher and higher until it slipped silently up through the trees and disappeared into the night sky. No roar of jet engines, no thunderous crack, just silence. The men stood there in the clearing, staring up into the darkness, trying to understand what they had just seen. When they reported the incident, it wasn't treated like a joke. This wasn't a couple of civilians calling in a strange light. These were trained military personnel on duty near a nuclear-capable airbase. So the next night, the investigation continued. This time, a larger team went into the forest. Among them was a deputy base commander named Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt. Throughout the rest of the drive, you will hear from Charles Halt himself from the actual recordings taken on the investigation night. He carried a small tape recorder with him, documenting everything as it happened.
150 feet or more from the initial, I should say, suspected impact point. Having a lift car that can't get the light all to work. Seems to be some kind of mechanical problem. Let's send back, get another light. Meantime, we're going to take some readings for the Geiger counter and chase around here a little bit, waiting for another light off to come back in.
At first, it seemed uneventful, just a walk through the trees, but then they started noticing things, the cold air, the sounds in the forest, small indentations in the ground where the object had reportedly landed.
You're getting readings on the tree you're taking samples from on the side facing the suspected landing site. 4 clicks max. Up to 4. Interesting. That's right where you're taking the sample now. 4. That's the strongest point on the tree? Yes, sir. If you come to the back, there's no clicks whatsoever. No clicks at all on the back. It's all on the side facing the... Interesting. The indentations look like something twisted as it got, as it sat down on them. Looks like someone took something and sat it down and twisted it from side to side. Very strange.
3 marks arranged in a triangular pattern. And nearby on the trees, strange damage. The bark had been stripped away in patches, as if something hot or energetic had brushed against them. As the men moved deeper into the forest, they saw lights again. Not just one this time, but several. Glowing orbs moving between the trees. At first, they seemed distant, just flickers in the darkness, but then one of the lights began to move toward them.
305. We see strange strobe-like flashes to the rather sporadic, but there's definitely something, some kind of phenomenon. 305 at about 10 degrees horizon directly north. We've got 2 strange objects, half-moon shape, dancing about with colored lights on them. But guess to be about 5 to 10 miles out, maybe less. The half moons have now turned into full circles. As though there was an eclipse or something there for a minute or two. 0315, now we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south, 10 degrees off the horizon. And the ones in the north are moving, one's moving away from us. It's moving out fast.
This one on the right's heading away, too.
Yeah, we're both heading north. Hey, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal. 330, or 0330, and the objects are still in the sky, although the one to the south looks like it's losing a little bit of altitude. We're turning around and heading back toward the base. The object to the south is still beaming down lights to the ground. 0400 hours, one object still hovering over Woodbridge Base at about 5 to 10 degrees off the horizon, still moving erratic and similar lights and beaming down this area.
You can hear the tension in their words, the uncertainty, the disbelief. They weren't telling a fairy story, they were reacting in real time. The strange light hovered among the trees, pulsing softly. Then it split into smaller lights, like glowing fragments drifting through the dark forest. And then something even stranger happened. Above them in the sky, another object appeared. A bright light, high overhead, It moved silently across the sky, stopping at times, then continuing. At one point, the men reported that it seemed to shine a beam of light down toward the ground near their position, as if it was scanning the forest. Eventually, the lights drifted away, the forest went dark again, and the men returned to the base. In the days that followed, the incident was written up in an official memo, but like so many cases like this, the story didn't stay in the spotlight for long. There were explanations, of course. Some said the men had mistaken a nearby lighthouse for a UFO. Others claimed it was just stars or meteorites or some kind of secret military exercise. But those explanations didn't quite fit. Lighthouses don't move through the trees. Stars don't hover at eye level. And meteorites don't land gently on 3 legs. To this day, the Rendlesham Forest incident remains one of the most credible UFO encounters ever reported. Not because of blurry photos or wild claims, but because of who saw it. Security personnel, Air Force officers, men trained to identify aircraft, threats, and equipment. And yet none of them could explain what had landed in that forest that night. If you walk through Rendlesham today, it looks peaceful, almost ordinary. But at night, when the wind moves through the trees, when the paths vanish into shadow, it's easy to imagine those lights again, hovering between the trunks, silent, watching, waiting. Because sometimes the most unsettling stories don't happen in haunted houses or abandoned asylums. Sometimes they happen in places that look completely normal. A quiet forest, a dark road, a base at the edge of the trees. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next drive, passenger, but until then, keep your eyes on the skies. You never know what you're gonna see, or what you'll spot looking back at you.